Okay, so we're talking about why slavery ended. So the reason why slavery ended was not because the United States saw that it was wrong, saw that something was wrong with it. That wasn't where people live. No, that's not why it ended. The reason why slavery ended is because it was a political move. There was a civil war going on in which that's why I tell everybody all the time, all white people aren't bad. Yes, there are some bad. There are bad people, but the issue at hand is not a race war. That is not what the solution to this is. And it's funny because I think that's how they're trying to bait us by showing everything they're showing us on the media, on the news, and showing us as the targets and everything. And black people are constantly under attack. We're the smallest sector of the population, yet we're the highest sector of all the problems in the world, the drug use, the criminals, and everything. Yet we're the smallest sector of people. Yet we make up all the problems that are in America. So um, we're under attack in that regard. But slavery it ended as a political ploy. Enough good white people in the North, because black people always had a problem with it. It wasn't an issue of enough of us got outraged. Black people always had a problem with slavery, but enough white people of North got outraged about it, and so much so that they the Civil War occurred. We all know about the Civil War, and so slavery ended by Abraham Lincoln because the South was losing. It was pretty much clear the South had lost the war, and so that was something that was done to unify the country. So he said, "Okay, now my question is, if the South would have been victorious, would slavery have ended?" And I think we all know the answer is no, because if a war would have had to happen over freeing people, over freedoms of people, if we were ending slavery because it was wrong. So a war went on, and it wasn't until the fate of the war was pretty clear in the president's eyes that he finally decided to make a choice and say, okay, we're going to end slavery. It wasn't because, in fact, Abraham Lincoln owned slaves when he signed the decree to end slavery. So we have to get out of the notion that's why slavery ended, and stop buying the Kool-Aid that they're selling us, that we are equal and that we are just, and how great and grandeur the world that America is. It is a great place, but once again, this is simply seeing it for what it is. Okay, the reality is, slavery didn't end because it was wrong, because they felt bad for how they were treating us, because they felt like we were equal of people, or because they felt like we need to be set free. No, because they still never set us free. All they did was ended slavery. They said, okay, they allowed us to go free, but they knew that they still had our minds enslaved. Now, how do I know that they didn't have a problem with slavery? They didn't have a problem with slavery because slavery still goes on to this day. Now, the definition of slavery is a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them, or and the verb of it is works excessively hard. Now, if slavery was so wrong that your people went to war over it, wouldn't it be something you would do away with? But yet we still have slavery as long as we can justify it in our minds, which is ironically how slavery began in the first place, because some white people with superiority complexes saw us as black people, our ancestors, and said, oh, they're not as equal to us. We can justify making them our slaves. We're bringing them here. We're doing this. So we're justifying it. So the same thing, we justified modern day slavery. And what I'm referring to is the definition: a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. Um, we justify it, and if somebody breaks a law, where do they go? To prison, to jail. What happens when you go to prison? You're no longer the person who you are. You are inmate 7658234, and that is what you are. You are not a person. You are property of the state. That is exactly what your new title is: property of the state. You are property of another person, and you are forced to obey them. Because what happens if you don't obey in prison? You get it is the exact same thing that slavery was. They break your will, they break your spirit to enforce you to fall in line with what they want you to do. But we're okay with that because they're criminals and because they've done something to do it. And so first that's how they get us. So they make us okay with it, and then once again we are the smallest sect of the population, yet we make up the majority of the prisons in the United States. How is that? But yet slavery is over with, and most of our charges are what? drug charges, the drug and most drug charges that are actually that is legal now in a few of our states. So most of us are in jail for drug charges or gun charges or things that have been pumped into our societies by ways that we aren't capable of getting them there, but we're in prison for possessing these things. And like I say, the sad thing is, in most cases, these things are legal, and that's where mental slavery comes in. Because okay, let's say a gun charge, people are in jail for possession of a gun, but possessing a gun is legal. But when you don't know the legal steps to take to have a gun legally, then you are outside of the law. So owning a gun, possessing a gun is not illegal, but if you don't go through the proper chains, and if you don't know that there are proper chains to go through, and you don't know how to go through those proper chains in order to legally maintain a gun, by in essence of doing the same thing that your fellow man is doing, you are now a criminal, which now justifies the society um, allowing you to be treated as a slave. Yet slavery is over with in 2018. So that's the next point. That's it for this video. What else we're gonna talk about some more stuff in a second.